It's great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into Reimagine and your world of music, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to be here.
So before we get into your latest album, I want to know this. 5 years ago, this pandemic changed all of our lives, and specifically, musicians had to scramble and figure things out. How did you get through that era, and how has it influenced the way that you make music and live today?
It's interesting. I mean, it seems like a lifetime ago, and yet part of my work is also as an educator, and I've traveled and worked with a lot of different universities since COVID has happened. And I think it's a common theme for a lot of them that the students are having a hard time connecting again with each other on campus, arriving and being able to function and do things. So, a big part of what I was doing during COVID was as an educator at a college in a music program. And for some reason, our school was in this isolated county that was not having a lot of issues um, with COVID. And so we decided to keep going and in the face of this, but it was a really difficult time. We couldn't perform in front of audiences.
Um,
So I think one of the fun things I did during COVID for the students was connecting with all my jazz friends across, the nation that were also educators finding themselves shut down. And it was a way of having them meet with my students. We did Zoom artist meetings with some awesome people like we had Marcus Gilmore, and we had Emmett Cohen, who was so gracious with his time, and Dion Tucker, who's a great trombone player, Shoshana Bean, who's been on Broadway, and Greta Matassa and Carmen Bradford. I had all my jazz friends join us for these workshops. So it was a way of also funneling some income to artists that were kind of in that shutdown moment too. So it kind of worked out both ways. So I had these beautiful experiences with my students connecting that way. As far as artistically for me, it didn't really affect my practicing and my goals and what I was working on. So it actually gave me some isolated time to kind of focus on some skills that I was wanting to build. And so I tried to take advantage of that time and stay connected with people and reach out. And finding your audience during that time was a little bit difficult, but we all survived it. And now I feel like we're kind of on the crest of that. As far as even the students go, I feel like they're kind of adjusting now, getting used to performing again with audiences that are used to coming in. I think that was a strange thing after COVID. People weren't really venturing out and exploring things. But now it seems like it's calmed down a lot. So thank you for asking. That was a reflective moment for me. So
yeah, absolutely. So, Reimagine, talk to me about the new album. What was the vision, and how does it just kind of feel on a visceral level to have this out?
Well, the album came about. I've been working with Brent Edstrom, who is a fabulous pianist, arranger, composer. I met him when I was living in the Pacific Northwest. He teaches at Whitworth University in Spokane. And when I was living there, I performed with Brent with the Spokane Jazz Orchestra and kind of fell in love with the magic that happened when he was playing the piano and I was singing. So we had recorded an album called Kick Off the Covers that we just did a piano vocal take on Broadway tunes with the jazz stylizing to them. And after we finished that one, I said, I really want to explore some songs that I've loved for years, but I listened to as many recordings as I could of the songs I was choosing, and I wanted to make sure that you had never heard it done the way I was going to do it. I wanted to make sure that we could reimagine these songs and do a fresh new take on music with different feelings behind them, different instrumentation. I just was kind of exploring how to make these songs new and fresh for me. So it was, it was lovely to see it unfold. We
Yeah.
recorded in the rhythm section in Seattle at Lang Studios with Ben Lang engineering for us, and I had Clipper Anderson and Mark Ivester and Brent at the piano, and it was, these guys worked together all the time playing, and so we recorded, and it was magical. And then I took some time to get the vocals because I was not living in Seattle at the time, so I'd fly back there every now and then and record a few songs on the album, and then head home and go back again. So it took a while to get that one done, but I'm very happy with the project. Having Sean Jones playing trumpet on Body and Soul, it was amazing. I've always appreciated him as a friend and as a musician, so I was delighted that he was willing to play on my album, as well as Howard Levy. Howard Levy is just harmonica. I watched him on, what was it, Kenny Loggins, Live at the Redwood, and I remember watching him play harmonica. This is like, what, 20, 30 years ago? I don't know. And he's been, I've worked with him a few times on different productions, and so when it came time for my album, the song Beyond the Sea, he played on that, and he plays diatonic harmonica, which he kind of pioneered himself, so it's really magical. Everyone goes, what instrument is that? And I go, it's harmonica.
Yeah.
So it was fun. We had a great time.
So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
I hope they find comfort in songs that they have heard for years, and I hope they feel inspiration by how we approach them, that they find joy in listening to a myriad of styles being performed. I'm a storyteller at heart. I like songs with a story. My voice tends to adapt to the story I'm telling, so I think vocally, if you listen to each track, you can tell it's me singing, but I also hope you feel like it's a different character presenting a new story to the listeners. So I try to always sing with the story in mind, and even with Kick Off the Covers and then Reimagine, both of those really represent my work as a storyteller and using music as my vehicle. So I think the listener would enjoy hearing the stories as well as listening to the music, and hopefully moved by that and relax and enjoy it,
Yeah. So Jennifer, take me to the beginnings. Where were you born and raised? How did music and singing, how did this life of jazz come to be?
I was born and raised in Sacramento, California, and grew up there. Both of my parents are both, sing, not professionally, but I mean, we spent hours in the car singing harmonies. There's 5 of us siblings, and we would get in the car, and it was spent, learning barbershop harmonies and learning music from my parents' era. And so as a family, we've always performed and sang together. And so I was kind of raised as that being a feature of what life is like. We just sing, and started performing very young. I had 2 mentors, Jerry and Richard Klinger, Jerry was my first voice teacher, and Richard taught me piano. And Art Crown was a jazz pianist in Sacramento that I studied with. I was just always interested in music, and I think once I got married, I got married way too young the first time, but nonetheless, when I started having children when I was 25, and I have 4 kids, so at the time, I just realized being a mother was going to consume me, and my career needed to wait a little bit while I was focusing on my children. And I think the thought came to me as I was, as I was watching artists perform, I noticed that most of the pop singers were under the age of 30, but the jazz singers weren't. They were seasoned pros who had stories to tell, that had life that they've lived, and people that appreciated what they were hearing and listening to. And I thought to myself, when my season comes, I'm going to be past the ingenue roles, and I needed to, find a way of expressing myself musically for my lifetime. And I thought jazz singers were accomplishing that. And so at a very young age, I think I was even 15 when I was really looking at different artists, and I thought, I'm really inclined to love this kind of music, and I think it blossomed over the years, and I focused more and more on jazz as I was maturing, and so it's kind of my thing now. I love it.
So, what was the first live jazz show you saw or a live concert that made you think, I want to be on that stage one day?
Do you know I was at Sacramento Music Circus back in the 70s, and Rosemary Clooney came with three other singers. I wish I had that memory of who it was, but I remember Rosemary Clooney was on stage. I was 10 feet away from her and these other three divas of jazz. And they were probably in their 40s at that point, but I thought of them because I was probably 15 or 16 at the time. I thought of them as being these mature women who were still making their mark on life, and they were so entertaining and so lovely. I think I really, at that moment, thought, I could see myself doing this. This would be something I'd want to do. And I fell in love with like Maureen McGovern in the 80s. She was recording with Mike Rizzo, and I just loved all of her albums, her storytelling. She's a fabulous storyteller. And so I watched her many times in concert and was able to meet with her. And I watched Carmen Bradford perform, and she's my age, and I at the time had my four kids, and watching her and Dee Daniels perform with the Spokane Jazz Orchestra, and I just thought, I could do this. This is what I love doing. I've been performing my whole life, and at one point when mothering is not taking center stage for me, I'm going to do this. This is who I am.
So, what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What do you look forward to every day?
Oh, it's interesting. I always ask people that want to study music that come to me, and I always ask them that same question: what is it that you want from life? And the minute someone says to me they want to be famous, I chuckle because it is 98% labor and work and study and listening and recording studio time, and then those moments when you're on stage are glorious, and those moments of connection with your audience are the best, but you have to enjoy the trenches, and I have always enjoyed the trenches. I love writing music. My favorite things to be in the studio with a fabulous arrangement and working with musicians and producing an album and trying to make it top notch, and every take means something, and every note, every soloist that's playing on my album, I'm listening to it and trying to internalize, does this move me? Does this speak to me? Is it appropriate? And so I enjoy the trenches of music. And so for me, I don't know if that answered the question, but
Sure.
I enjoy the communication with musicians and communicating on stage with them, communicating in the studio with them, working with my arranger in trying to craft a song, and looking at lyrics and fleshing out different ways of expressing a phrase based on the lyrics. I'm a nerd. I'm a music nerd. I love just all those little details. So, yeah.
So, what over the years of being on stage and playing with musicians and accumulating this wisdom, so to speak, what is it that you want to give to students? What is it that you want to teach based on your experience about this art form?
I think just to be a great listener. I mean, it is a oral tradition, this music. It was not originally given to us in a form of sheet music. It was passed down through listening to people, and it still is. I still listen to Ella Fitzgerald and the stories she tells and how she tells them, and it informs me today. And I think the biggest thing I could say to students is you're only as good as your ears have been listening, and you have to immerse yourself. You have to understand songs in your bones. You have to know the chord changes. You have to live them. You have to feel like that you could hear the band playing behind you when you're singing a cappella. You have to know a song that well. You have to practice the language of jazz. I always, scat singing is an interesting thing, and it starts with your musicality and being able to hear what notes are available, but eventually it's how do you speak those notes? How do you articulate them? How do you, and I feel like sometimes I'm still a fifth grader learning how to speak jazz, but I still continue and I still listen and I reflect. And so I think with students, it's like, it's a lot of work. But you have to find joy in that journey, or jazz is really not for you if the journey is not a joyful thing for you to do. So I can't hear you. Oops.
So why do you love this art form we call jazz?
Because it's the roots of America to me. It's honoring things that merged and came together, and it feels very natural to me to express myself that way. I think of the blues, or the way that this music emerged was from people's pain and people's struggles. And we all have pain and we all have struggles, maybe not to the depth that others have, but each one of us can reflect on how visceral music can be and cathartic it can be. And you can sing and heal yourselves. I've been through experiences where singing was my therapy. At night, my kids were in bed and I was singing my feelings, as you might say. And my kids talk about that time and say their favorite thing was being in bed and hearing me in the other room sitting down at the piano just singing and singing my guts out, so to say. So I connect, I believe, with this music and the fact that the sounds that come from my voice come from a deep place.
Yeah.
And they always talk about singing from your toes. I feel in every dramatic center of my body, I feel the music in different places, and it's very cathartic for me. And I think it's cathartic for listeners if they can just relax and enjoy.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you: family, friends, fans, students, everyone that you play with on the bandstand, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm a funny woman. I am left-brained and I am right-brained. I am highly organized. I've got huge executive function skills. I understand finances. I understand business. I understand creativity. I understand, how to be inspired and how to inspire. I'm a communicator. I'm a connector. I feel like most people would say I'm a connector because I will meet someone and immediately know a friend that they should connect with that I think would help both of them continue with life in a more beautiful way. And I tend to do that with my friends, I think I do that through music, connecting even artists. I work with the Jazz Education Network, and we put on the Generations Jazz Festival every year. And I pull clinicians, artists, professional artists and educators from all over the country and the world to work and mentor students. That's what it's all about. It's about reaching back. You're moving forward, but at the same time, you're dragging whoever will come along with you on that journey. So I think people would describe me as I connect them, I hear them, I see them, and I love them, and I am all about joy. I'm all about bringing joy and harmony through my music and through my words and through my actions, through my social media posts. When everything's going crazy around us, my posts are, here's the song of the day, let's listen to Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror and all self-reflect on and have some introspection on who we are as human beings and what we could do to help the situation. No, we don't need anyone else to describe what's going on in the world. There's so many people trying to describe what's going on in the world. Well, I'm trying to prescribe what we need.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
love it.
what do we need? We need just more connection and love and friendship and being there for each other. We sang, oh, what was it? I'm doing this jazz gig and I felt super inspired to do Carole King's You've Got a Friend. And I did it for my finale. And I had everyone sing along with me because everyone knew that song. And people were just crying about just forgetting that we've got each other. You know, we've got each other. And who cares how we would describe what's going on? Ultimately, we've got each other. We've
Yeah,
just, you know.
I love it. So if anyone wants to pick up the album, catch you live, any of the other good business in your world, where do they go?
My music's available on all streaming services. If you go on my website, jennifermadsen.com, you can join my email list, and that will inform you of every performance I have coming up. I'm performing tomorrow night for a small group of people. I have a residency right now at the Edison House, which is in Salt Lake City. It's a very upscale, beautiful club. And they have a room called the Speakeasy that I assume was built just for me because it's just a perfect stage and a perfect size. It's a listening room, and there's just very few listening rooms left in the world. I mean, when
Yeah,
people come in to hear me sing, they're ordering dinner and they're sitting down and they're watching a show and they're listening to me talk and connect. And so my shows are fun that way. I don't really enjoy being background music. Let's just say that. I
yeah,
want them to hear the stories and understand them. So I do universities. I perform with university big bands, and I do a workshop before I do the performance with the big band. I do community shows. I'm just getting ready to I have a symphony show I'm putting together right now that I hope to be touring this next year with. So there's places to connect with me on Instagram, on my Facebook page. You get to see some performances that I'm currently doing. So.
excellent. I will put this in the show notes. Jennifer, it's so great to connect. Thank you so much for taking some time out to talk about the album and your world of music. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. This has been great.
Yeah.
And thanks to everyone for listening.